The entire country depends on the electrical grid for power. A fragile labyrinth of high-voltage power lines patched together over the last 50 years. Parts of it are old and overburdened. A single line failure can cause cascading blackouts over massive areas. The electricity is sent out at a high voltage by transformers traveling along miles of transmission lines. Then converts down to a lower voltage for use in your home. When an EMP strikes, the electricity flow is hit with an enormous surge of power, building up as it courses the length of the transmission line. When it reaches the end, the high current has nowhere to go but directly into the transformer.
Hundreds of amperes that the transformers aren't balanced to take care of. What happens is it's ripped apart by the other power that's going through, which is now thrown out of whack. And it just destroys itself.
Our chief vulnerability are these big transformers. And if you lose them, you've basically lost the whole grid. And they're not manufactured in this country anymore. You're talking about 18 months to replace one transformer. And this country can't survive for 18 months. It probably can't survive for 6 months without electricity. All of our population is now dependent on the electric pump for water and on water for purification systems. And all of this would go away in the aftermath of an EMP attack that destroyed the infrastructures.
Can I have a drink? Yeah.
Survival without water is nearly impossible after 3 days.
Try to get a scoop with your hands, Colby.
How long would it take before an average city's tap ran dry?
I want some.
This is serious. Within days, we'd be sustaining casualties.
If the electric grid fails and backup generators run out of fuel, these pumps simply stop working. A world of starvation, death, and disease springs forth. Even the remaining water supply becomes contaminated because computer systems that control water treatment fail. Most water treatment plants are run by a SCADA system. SCADA stands for Supervised Controller Data Acquisition, a small computer at the heart of most infrastructure control centers. If it burns out, water purification ceases here immediately.
SCADA is just a computer. Here's this SCADA. Deep inside are these microcircuits. And you have these small gaps where you have electrodes close to each other. And now you're piling up huge numbers of electrons on them. You're getting thousands of volts across circuits that were only designed to hold 1 or 2 volts. And so you get sparking inside the SCADA. The circuit is burned out. You've killed the supervisory control.
But when the attack comes from nature, what will you do? How do you stop the sun from delivering a fatal electric blow?
Closely related to the EMP is the danger of a natural kind of EMP we call a geomagnetic storm. This originates in the sun. The sun sends its solar wind, if it comes out in a very big burst, that disturbs the magnetic field of the Earth in a way that can also affect our critical infrastructure.
Infrastructure doesn't care if it's being attacked by a nuclear EMP or by an EMP from a geomagnetic storm.
The result is the same. The grid is the victim. They've hit the Earth before, and they will hit again. In 1859, British astronomer Richard Carrington recorded seeing 2 very dark, ominous spots grow on the sun's surface. Telegraphs went haywire, overflowing with electric current.
Some of those telegraph systems and stations actually burned down.
Scientists of the day had never seen anything like it and had no idea that events on the sun can directly impact Earth.
Go ahead with the 75 amp test.
John Kappenman has spent years conducting tests on the modern power grid, simulating the EMP effect of a large geomagnetic storm.
When I started working in this area, we never thought that geomagnetic storms would truly be large enough to actually damage large power transformers.
Then came the storm of 1989. All of Quebec went dark.
They went from normal operating conditions to complete province-wide blackout in 92 seconds. You know, so fast they couldn't even assess what was going on, let alone take any sort of meaningful human intervention. We not only experienced a blackout in a major portion of the North American power grid, but we damaged some transformers as well. You know, something that easily could be 10 times worse is likely to occur at some point in the future. I mean, they have occurred before, they will occur again.
According to a report from the National Academy of Sciences, if a massive storm hits Earth, full recovery of the infrastructure could take up to 10 years.